Hello friends, welcome to One Academy once again. I am Somesh Upadhyay, IAS, UPSC rank 34, and today we are going to finish the principles of Indian foreign policy part, of which last part is new features of Indian foreign policy. This is part of the international relations series, and I must thank you friends for helping me reach 1000 subscribers. And this makes me believe that we are doing some good work. And please spread the word so that we reach more and more serious aspirants. The most important feature of new Indian foreign policy is the neighborhood first policy. Why neighborhood first is important? Because friends, you can choose your neighbors in real life. You can shift your house and choose new neighbors if your old neighbors are annoyance. And there are cases where people have changed their houses only because of their annoying neighbors. But in case of your country, you cannot shift your country to some other place. So your neighbors are fixed. Your neighbors are decided by the tragedy or comedy of geography. So you will have to live with them, you will have to deal with them, and you have to keep them at peace, because unless the neighbors are at peace with you, your development will be certainly hampered. So that's why we have chosen neighborhood first policy. And recently it started with Indra Kumar Gujral's Gujral doctrine, and recently you have seen that when the new government was selected in 2014, in the PM swearing in ceremony, all the SAARC nations were invited, and this was the first time that it was done. And it was such a huge gesture from India for friendship towards all its neighbors. And then, if you remember the first set of visits by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he made visits to countries like Nepal, China, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. In fact, to Nepal he went twice in within a span of few months. So that shows the seriousness that we are talking about when we say neighborhood first. Then you also may remember the unscheduled visit to Pakistan when Narendra Modi ji, on his return from Russia, made an unscheduled landing at Lahore airport and met Nawaz Sharif on his birthday. That was such a great gesture towards normalizing the Indian-Pakistan relation. But due to the tragedy that India-Pakistan relation is, because of the military dominance in Pakistan, the relationship could not take off, and which we will discuss in the India-Pakistan relations that we'll learn in next few lessons. One more example is the line of credit to Nepal. Every time Narendra Modi ji has visited Nepal, he has announced some form of loan or assistance to Nepal for its development. And you may also remember how we were the first care providers and the largest care providers in the aftermath of Nepal earthquake in 2015. And then you would have seen that we send frequent assistance to Maldives. There was a time when, a few years ago, when the desalination machines of Maldives were not working, and that's when India sent water through Navy to ensure supply of drinking water to Maldives. And we have supplied them with medicine during Corona times and a lot of other assistance we keep giving to Maldives. So this is the neighborhood first policy. The next feature of new Indian foreign policy is that it is proactive and the national priority sense has developed. So mind you friends, when we are talking about new features of Indian foreign policy, it's not that it came up in the last 5-6 years. It actually started changing since 1990s slowly. You remember how Indra Kumar Gujral brought in that Gujral doctrine with neighborhood first policy, and it is still growing. So proactive and national priority. So the balance of idealism and national interest, which means earlier we were very idealistic कि हम लोग socialistic principle or this principle or that principle पे ही deal करेंगे, and that is why we got a lot of backstabbing also. You remember that China had backstabbed us after we declared Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, and the national interest has now taken a priority, and we are trying to achieve a balance between both idealism and pursuing our own national interest. कि जहाँ भी हमारा national interest है हम वो चीज़ pursue करेंगे regardless of, even if we have to somehow compromise or balance with some idealism, we will do that for the sake of national interest. What is proactive and reactive? Reactive means when something has already happened, कोई tragedy हो गया, उसके बाद you are acting on it. Proactive means what? That you prepare yourself before that something happens and avoid that tragedy or any unwanted event. So the proactive steps are, for example, the surgical strikes that we took in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and also the isolation of Pakistan that we have done in the SARC region to further corner them and make them shun their ways of using terrorism as state policy. We There are other examples of proactivity. Earlier, the diaspora was a passive component of Indian foreign policy, where we thought they only are there to receive the different services from our embassy and from our consulates. But now, if you have seen how Narendra Modi ji has reached out to different diaspora in different countries, including USA, UK, and the West Asia. Even wherever he goes, in Japan, you have seen he interacts with the Indian diaspora there, and this increases our ties with the Indian people abroad, and that also increases our soft power. So that has been now recognized, and proactively we are pursuing the diaspora strength. And you'll also see the national priority in the fact that now we are developing closer relations with Israel. Earlier, Israel has been one of the most supportive country, whether it's agricultural technology or defense technology. Since Israel is very developed in all these things, we have gotten a lot of support from Israel. But openly, we never discussed our relations, and that closeness was not expressed. It was because of certain political considerations. But now we have openly come up together with Israel, and we are partnering with them in multiple fields. So this shows that now our national priority has taken precedence in our foreign policy. Next important feature is that now we are taking integrated view of regions. We are not seeing each country in a silo, not seeing each country in an isolated fashion. We are also seeing different regions in an integrated approach. I'll explain what it means. For example, Act East policy. Now it's not just India engaging with Southeast Asia or East Asia. So there is an overarching policy called Act East policy for our long-term vision regarding our relationship with the East Asian countries, and the policies that we will adopt to pursue that vision. So another example is engaging with the West Asia as a region. So whenever our Prime Minister or External Affairs Minister or any diplomatic mission goes, they try to engage the different West Asian region at a time, and the whole of West Asia is now seen as a block because they have similar kind of culture and similar kind of economy. So we are treating West Asia as a region. But friends, this does not mean that we have stopped engaging one to one. We do engage, but when we talk about policy, at policy level, we are also framing a whole integrated regional approach. Okay. Another brilliant example is our engagement with South America, where Mercosur is a South American trade bloc of 6 different countries. You should go and look up who are these 6 different countries in Google. So India Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement (PTA) was signed in 2005 and it was effected in 2009. So that is another example of our integrated view of regions. And you should also know what is preferential trade agreement and how it is different from other kind of trade agreements, for example free trade agreement, and we can discuss that separately in a different lecture. Then another example is India ASEAN FTA that was signed, that is free trade agreement that was signed in 2009 and came into effect in 2010, and since then the trade between India and ASEAN has grown by leaps and bounds. The another example is our closeness to USA. It is also because of the integrated view of regions that we take of the Asia Pacific region and the Indian Ocean region, where we want to maintain balance of power. Friends, balance of power is another very important keyword in international relations. What it means that when in a region there is power balance, in the sense if some country is powerful, there is another country or a block of countries which are equally powerful and they are able to counter that powerful country equally. So then we call it that there is a balance of power in that region. But you can see that how China is emerging as a very powerful nation both economically and militarily, and they're also very aggressive nation, and somebody who has an imperialistic view, in the sense they want to capture more and more territory and make it their own. So that balance of power is now being disturbed, is now being tilted towards China, and to bring that power back, India and other countries need to come closer to a bigger power which is not in this region. Maybe some, for example, USA. There is also talk of Quad and Quad Plus, where Australia and Japan are also part. So this kind of bloc forms to create balance of power, and this is again about the integrated view of the regions, where we are not saying, our idealism is not allowing us to come closer to this country or that country. That is now gone. So this is integrated view of regions. Next feature is multiple relations simultaneously. Now we are pursuing multiple relations simultaneously. It is not give and take. So we are developing good relations with US also, but we are also keeping relations with Iran and West Asian countries. We are engaging with Israel too and Saudi Arabia too. So two countries might be at war with each other or having bad relations with each other, but we should not bother about, we should not take sides, we should engage with all the different relations simultaneously. And decoupling means that the closeness with one country does not mean distancing from that country's rival. So for example, we are coming closer to USA, it does not mean that we have distanced ourselves from Russia. We are pursuing both relations with equal seriousness. To pursue multiple relations, you need to do decoupling. Although in reality, Russia might feel that we are changing sides, but then we have to pursue relations with them too. So this is called decoupling. Another related term, friends, you should know and you should use in your answers is dehyphenation. Can you think of what does it mean? Dehyphenation means delinking. For example, earlier what used to happen that USA से कोई भी ambassador या फिर foreign secretary or even the president come to visit, when they came to visit India, they always made sure to also visit Pakistan, because they did not want to look like they're favoring one country over the other, because India and Pakistan is rival. So they try to always hyphen the two countries. If they gave some support to India, they also gave equal support to Pakistan. So this dehyphenation was very important, and for dehyphenation we had to become much more developed than Pakistan, make Pakistan irrelevant. So the countries which respect you more will not hyphen you with your rival and will engage with you separately. So this is what dehyphenation is. Finally, the last feature, new feature of Indian foreign policy is making global impact. India, as an aspiring world power, now wants to make its global presence felt. It wants to make impact in the international decision making, and you can see that these days we have pursued International Yoga Day has now been established and recognized. There has also been leadership given to International Solar Alliance by India, and then we are also pursuing very seriously our goal of permanent seat in UNSC, which is United Nations Security Council. Even we are seeking reforms in the UNSC structure. We are also participant in G20. It's a group of 20 developed and developing important nations, and our role in Afghanistan peace process also shows our ambition to become important in global affairs. So friends, this is how it ends. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel, and we'll come with India-Nepal relations in the next lesson. Thank you.